Hey everyone, this is Jesse from Prezly and welcome to our August version of our webinar. Today we're going to speak about the new UI, which stands for user interface. Some of you already tried it. I've seen it in the chat. Great on that. But we want to give everyone the time to get a nice little introduction into it. But maybe just before I start, a few ground rules. We, of course, want to make sure that you know how the chat is working. So feel free to kind of share where you're dialing in from. I remember last month or something, we asked the temperature at your place. Now we just want to know where you're dialing in from. Last month, we saw some temperatures up until 40 degrees, which I believe in some parts of Europe is still possible, but I think in Western Europe it's a little bit more cool, luckily. But where you're calling from, use the chat, say where you're dialing in from. That's always good to know. The video will be recorded and you'll get a nice recording afterwards, so you can share that with some colleagues to make sure that you can get all the nice bits afterwards as well. The second house rule is that there is also Q&A possible throughout the session. You can just use the Q&A function to ask certain questions. If it's relevant, I'll bring up the question and so on, and we'll answer it live. Otherwise, we'll spend some time after our demo to kind of go into it. Of course, I'm not going to do the demo. This is something that our head designer, Alistair, or Al, we say Al, or AI, we have multiple names for him, that has been leading from start to finish. I believe we started working at, let's say, February. Is that correct, Al?
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. We've had a lot of changes in that time, and we've had a lot of testing and tested with a lot of users. So
good.
I'm excited to show this off. I think this might be my first webinar.
So, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
After all those years with us, damn.
Yeah,
it was about time.
But
it's a big update, and this is why he's perfectly qualified to run you all through that new interface, which starts, of course, with how you can test it out. So if you want to following along, that's completely possible. So I suggest if you have a little bit of a bigger screen, open up another browser window next to this one. Open up rock.prezly.com, which is your most beloved URL in the browser window, and then follow along with Al if you're curious on that. If not, just sit back, relax, and listen to his sweet British voice introduce you to the new UI. I'll be around after to help with the Q&A, but now I left the stage to Al. Al, up to you.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Hello, everybody. I'm Alistair. I'm a product designer at Prezly. I'm going to talk through some of the changes we've been making in the new Prezly UI. Some of you may have seen this on the dashboard here. We're currently in an interim period where you can try the new Prezly UI beta out yourselves. You'll see something like this on your dashboard. There's a little video giving you an overview. If you turn on the new UI, it'll be turned on just for you. So if you're in a team of people, you don't need to worry about it being turned on for everybody. We're going to eventually move everyone to this, but for now, we're just letting people test this and switch back and forth. There's no harm in using either UI right now. You can do everything you can in Prezly with the new UI as you can with this UI. So let me show you how to turn it on. It's literally just the case here. Turn on the new UI. And that will pop in a second, and you'll see this here, along with a note. If you want to switch back to the old UI, you can always do this. There's something called Feature Labs, which is here. And if you go into Feature Labs, you'll see new Prezly UI beta here, and you can switch this off and get back to the old UI. This new user interface is enabled by default for new trialers, so they can't switch back. But for everyone who's an existing Prezly customer, you can switch back and forth and watch a quick tour. So some of the things, so what's changed? I'll start out with the navigation on the left-hand side. We've got this new collapsible navigation here, which you can pin. You can also resize this as well. And this contains, it's kind of been cleaned up and made a bit fresher looking, and things have moved around a little bit. So the account switcher, which is now here on the top, used to be on the bottom, and notifications have moved down to the bottom, consistent with a lot of other web UIs. In terms of the navigation, all the familiar things are still here, but we've moved out contact tags and contact imports into a more menu here. And we've also added a few other things that are a bit harder to find previously, like contact exports, media monitoring, and snippets as well. The other thing that we've cleaned up across the app is we've kind of streamlined the top bar on all screens, and we've added a favorites feature here. So if I just went into a screen like snippets, for example, here, you can see we have a breadcrumb trail now, and we have this little star here. If you add that to your favorites here, that will appear at the bottom there. So you can see, you can add anything pretty much now in Prezly to favorites, and favorites are just for you. So if you say are working on a specific contact or campaign, you can favorite them and come back to that really easily. So it's kind of like a shortcut, really. So what else has changed? So why have we done this? So over time, the user interface in Prezly has changed, and we wanted to try and standardize on how things work. We wanted to make grids work the same way across Prezly. So the idea is that you learn how to use one grid once and you're good across the whole app. Previously, in contacts, you remember there's a filter bar on the left-hand side that showed tags and segments. Segments were a thing that a lot of people used and were very useful and essentially saved sets of filters. But we've decided to bring segments up a level to the top of the screen. So rather than being hidden away down on the left, they are now across the top of the screen here. And we renamed them views. The idea being that we can you can now take what were segments and now called views and use that across the whole of Prezly. So previously you could only create segments really for contacts, but now you can create views for contacts, for sites, for stories, for campaigns, for pitches, and for coverage. And also filters. Filters previously were hidden away in behind a button that was just on the top, on your top bar here. And we made filters a bit clearer and easier to see. So I'm just looking in a view here that I've already created, and you can see filters are visible here. So filters can be built up, and you can see here all the filters that you were able to use before are available in this easy to use filter interface. Essentially, views are saved sets of filters here. So let me run through creating a view and applying some filters. So I'm here on the contacts view here, and let's just apply a filter. So I'm going to say, let's go with tags, and I'm going to say, let's choose a filter of, I want to find journalists who are interested in skincare. So I'm going to choose journalists there. There's plenty of ways of applying a filter here. If you were just to click a filter, it closes the filter picker, but we've got these checkboxes here. So if you use the checkboxes, you can apply multiple filters at once. So I'm going to say skincare here and close that. And you can see how we've got this filter applied with two tags. Filters themselves are made up of three things: the filter itself, the value here, and we've added in the created by and date where we've got that data. So often you'll find within a team that someone might create a tag historically and you're not sure like when that was created or what it was for. This gives you a little bit more information so you can follow up and figure out like who created what tags and what they're for. So something that people have requested and is quite useful when you're working within a team. Filters themselves have operators, so you can say much like we did before, like tag is one of, is all of, is none of. So we can change that to all of. So we've taken our all view here and filtered this by a couple of tags, journalist and skincare. Now I want to save this for use within my team. You'll see here that we've got a save view button that's popped up here. So if we hit save view, we can give that a name. So journalists skincare, that, and I'll save that. And that appears at the top of the screen here. We've got a number of default standard views, and then all your other views will appear here. And any segments that you have already will also appear here for selection. Views now have their own URLs, so you can like copy a link, send it to someone in an email. You can open it in a new tab. You can duplicate a view and edit it. And so this gives you quite a lot of flexibility with how you use views. Views are also, you can configure exactly what you show in a view here. So I've got my journalist skincare view, and I can go to view settings here. Now this is just for this view, and you can change this however you like. In here, we're showing function and title, email, and a bunch of other things. you just uncheck the things that you don't want to see, and they'll update in this view. You can also easily drag, let's say, I wanted to see open rate. I can drag that up to the top of the screen here, and you can see how that appears there. So you can essentially make views your own. All views have a table view and a card view. So I just close that. Previously, stories and campaigns had a kind of card view. We decided to standardize on this table view here for all the views, because you can see more on screen, and it allows you to compare data more easily. But you can change this easily within views here. So I could switch this to a card view, and you can see that. You can see that for your contacts, and you can set that as default for everyone, or you can switch back to a table view here. So that's pretty much filters and views here. You can see how by bringing these up to the top of the screen, they're a bit more flexible, and you can see what filters you have had applied more easily. And if we look at sort of the stories views here and the campaigns views here, they all have a similar bar of views across the top, along with filters here and view settings on the right hand side. If you want to search within a view or within the all view here, you can just click search in view and type a search term, and that filters down as normally would. So let's say I am in this view here, journalist skincare. You can see that's the top. I can add that to my favorites, and that appears on the left here. And favorites, while views are for everyone in your team, so you create a view and everyone sees that, favorites are just for you. So, this is just for your account. You can reorder them, you can remove them very easily. So it's like a quick shortcut, as I said before. So writing, everything in Prezly in terms of writing works exactly the same as it did before. So if we have a look at campaigns here, I've got a couple of campaigns. I've reordered the columns in my view here to suit. If we look at a default campaign, we can see how these new grids apply to the campaigns themselves. So this is the campaign editor. It probably looks very familiar to all of you who've been writing campaigns. We've added the breadcrumb here showing the name of the campaign, and that wasn't there before. And you can favorite campaigns. If you favorite a campaign, you'll always be taken to the first compose email view here. And let's go ahead and add some contacts to this campaign. And so here we have my campaign. This is the add contact step. The 4 steps of creating a campaign are exactly the same as they were before. They've just been condensed a little bit here. Let's go to journalist skincare. This is the view I've just created before. So you can see how if you've got sort of a segment of your audience you want to narrow down on, you can easily do that here. You can also clearly see what filters you've got here. Let's say we want to add all these to a view here. I've clicked the select all box here, and you can see we've got this floating action bar at the bottom. This is something we're standardizing across all our views. So eventually you'll be able to click checkboxes and then see what options you have. So I've got 10 contacts selected, and I can add them to a campaign here. If I click add, they're all added. You can see a little green check there against each contact. You can also, for all of these views, there's like a quick action here. So say I've added all of these people, but I want to actually remove Daisy. I can just click, rather than clicking the checkbox and clicking remove, I can just click an X here and remove Daisy from my added contacts. Let's have a look at the review screen here. This is laid out exactly the same way. It's a grid. We've added these like buttons across the top here, so you can filter this view down. At the moment, all my contacts are valid, but you can see we've got invalid, bounce, duplicate, unsubscribed, multiple emails, and so on. You can filter these views by all the filters that we have available here. For all of our grids, we've added the most commonly used filters at the top here, so you can like choose name or tag or whatever you like. And if that's all looking fine, we can still remove someone here. I want to remove Kai. We've got the email preview on the right, as well as options to view the contact or edit the contact or remove. But yeah, if I hit preview, you can see what the email looks like there. And I think that's pretty much about it. You can still click a contact to view their details and check anything if you want. One of the fields we've added in is something called last contacted here, which is quite useful. We didn't have that before. So if I just drag that up to the top here, and I'll put that there before email, you can now see when you last contacted somebody. So if you're adding people to a campaign and you want to see like, what did I send them recently, you can drop this field in and click the date, and this will open the same contact view here, but with the emails tab selected, so you can see what they've recently been sent, which is quite useful. And then the final step here is the send or schedule step, and that's exactly the same as before. So really, this isn't really changing the fundamentals of how Prezly works, or how you write campaigns, or how you write stories, but it's more just changing the grids, making them more consistent, and giving you like a cleaner, more up-to-date view on things. Tags as well. I mentioned the created date. We've added that in, so you hover over any tags and you can see that, or even click to view contacts with a specific tag. One other thing I'd like to add in, say, campaigns, or let's go to pitches. One of the things that often people struggle with is cleaning up lots of draft campaigns or pitches. So if you're in your pitches or campaigns grid or any of the other grids, if you filter by draft here, you'll see checkboxes down the side here. You can then select all, say you didn't want any of those, and remove those drafts. So it's like rather than having to delete things one by one, that any kind of drafts that you've accumulated, you can always go in and bulk remove them as well. So I think that's about it in terms of updates. These changes aren't really just for the sake of doing an update. We've approached them with the intention of making Prezly more customizable for the way you use it and more effective in the long run. And it's a baseline, really. We're just getting started for adding more useful default views, new columns and fields based on your feedback. So yeah, have a play. Go to the homepage of your existing UI, turn on the new interface, and start using it. And we welcome all feedback and even sensible feature suggestions as well. So that's it for my demo. Happy to take any questions.
Yeah, good job, Al. Thanks for that. There were some questions that were asked, but maybe before we kind of go in, one question that came to mind from my end. If you look at the favorite function here, you basically like favorite a campaign, which can completely make sense whenever you're probably drafting a campaign. You probably regularly need to go back to that same campaign until it's kind of sent. And maybe when it's sent, you want to check the reports once in a while. So that makes sense, but that kind of has an end date. At some point, it's no longer relevant and you probably want to remove it. While other favorites may be more static. Do we kind of design this with a reason of the favorites is something living and breathing, or is it something that you just set up once, like your shortcuts on your desktop, for example, like these are the tools I use every day, this is that, or is it something in between, or is it both, right? So I just wonder how we designed that feature, with what was in mind when we were
Sure, absolutely. So it could be that your team is working on a campaign and you want to keep an eye on it. So when a campaign is in draft, you might want to favorite it, and you see that here, and you can see how it's coming on, how it's added. But at the same time, once they've sent that campaign, like I can go to a sent campaign here and add that to my favorites. And let's assume that was a campaign that was in draft. As soon as it becomes sent, if you click the favorite, it'll take you straight to the report. So the where you're taken changes depending on the status of the campaign, if that makes sense. So you don't have to favorite a campaign report or anything like that. Your favorite will always show whatever is latest, the latest updates with that campaign.
So basically it's a little bit of a combination of both, I would say. But what is really important is that it's personal to you. Let's say that you're part of an agency and you basically work for, let's say, three customers in that agency you're responsible for. You basically can create a view that shows the stories of all those customers, right? But not the ones from the other ones. So it is really the goal to personalize these things, but also make it really easy to highlight and quickly go back to the stuff that you're currently working on if I'm right. So that's a pretty. I'm really interested to see what people are going to do with that favorite function. I think we use it in a few other tools very heavily, and we all have our different ways of using it. So I'm really curious.
Absolutely.
on
And
that.
these grids have been added throughout the application. So I'm on this campaign report here. I can look at to see who's clicked. I can look at to see, you know, like what's been delivered. And you can order by, with these kind of slightly cleaner grids, you can order and sort by whatever you like. So
Yes.
yeah, just a nicer way of viewing things and comparing data.
If I'm correct, we kind of given the filters a little bit of a redesign, made them a lot more clear, but they became a little bit more powerful as well, right? So there are some small features added. I recently wanted to take a look at what were our own campaigns from this year. We have specific filters that are based on a relative date as well, and I believe they were introduced as part of this project as well.
Yes, they were indeed. So my data set here is very simple, but
Yes.
I can show you some filters, I guess. So you can say, yeah, we probably won't end up with any results here because I've got a very limited data set. But say, for example, you wanted created at, let's just add that in. So created at, you have several options here. Let's go to contacts. We've got a bit more space here. Let's go to created at, and you've got some options here. So you've got relative options. So today, yesterday, this week, and so forth, or even custom dates. So you can say created at like last month or this year, and that is a relative date range.
Yes.
So if you created a view using some of these relative filters, they will constantly be updating as time goes on, which is really useful. And you can also specify custom dates as well. So you can say, I want some very specific custom dates, and that will also work. So you've got options, and you can say, you know, is or is not or whatever. So there's, by combining filters, you can end up with some really powerful, essentially reports of your contacts, your campaigns, and things like that.
So, for example, contacts that are bouncing but were created this year, right? So recently added contacts that are already bouncing, or recently added contacts that have a really high open rate, right?
Yes.
So like recent but engaged, right? So
people have used this for engagement, but they've also used this for finding out, A, helping to clean up their contact list, but B, also helping to find out like who they've engaged with. So like say if I added in last contacted here, and I'll bring that up to the top, and then I can say last contacted is you know, last month or this year, let's say, or is not this year. Obviously, with my test data set, I haven't got any matching contacts, but you can see how using filters like this could help you clean your lists. So you could say, well, is there anyone who I haven't engaged with this year? Or is there what's the click rate been for, you know, are there any contacts here who I've sent emails to who've never opened them? So you can come up with lots of different views that really help you both clean your lists and also help you decide who to focus in on when you're sending your campaigns.
Yes. So basically more powerful filters together with being able to favorite these things really not only creates a better way of accessing your data, but also maybe kind of analyzing your data. Is that a little bit the direction that we're going with this?
I think so. We want to make more useful views to allow people to do more things with their data, whether that's cleanup or whether that's deciding who to send things to. It's kind of understanding the relationship that they have with their contacts.
Okay, good. So we've got a question here coming in, and I think we've answered it already in the chat. But if we add a new journalist skins gear after the view has been created, will the new journalist automatically be added in the existing view?
Absolutely. So if your view is based on things like tags, as soon as that tag is applied to a journalist, then they'll appear in that view. The same way is if you have a time-based filter and they suddenly fall into that bucket, so that you've contacted them within the last year, they'll appear in that view. So views are dynamic. Certainly with regards to filters, they've all been designed to be dynamic. So you're not just adding individual contacts one by one to a view. You're setting criteria, and then people are then falling into that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes complete sense. So basically, if you have those relative filters, even right, if you add more campaigns this year, like that view will grow, right? Because the more campaigns that like adhere to those filters, the bigger that view, or the more things to that view will be added items. So that will be good. One other question, which is not really related to the grids and UI each, but any updates to in the sites feature. I'll maybe kind of like run through a few bits and pieces. So we spent a big amount of time, I think it was the end of last year, Al, on adding some layout options to the site builder. So you can actually go into the, maybe Al, you can briefly share your screen.
Yeah.
You can actually go into the sites and then to the site settings, where then you'll be able to go into the styling options, where you then have the ability to add a lot more things, right? And I've been in some calls with some customers recently where they've been using Prezly regularly, but they haven't been able to kind of see the options that they have. So if you go into the AMP Beauty, for example, you click in there and then you go to layout and styling. I suggest you take a look at that. There's been a lot of options added recently. Yeah. So there's been some options added there to be able to download, add download options, add more sharing options. I believe these things were quite recent, right?
Yeah, so I can talk to this. So we've added, it depends when you were last looking at your site's sort of theme and styling area, but we've added a bunch of options here, including branding. So we split things out that were already there into more logical tabs. We've got branding, we've got colors, we've got color presets. You can set accent colors and various other things here. You can choose fonts here, and we've got some sensible font pairings here. And then really what Jesse is talking about is layout options here. So we can make, your first story a full width hero block. It depends what your, how you want your site laid out. I've got this laid out with a navigation strip, but you can also choose a drop down. And so there's a bunch of options. Probably the things we've changed the most are probably the story options here. So you've got header image placement. These are social sharing links. So what social networks do you want to share your stories with, where you want them, the icons to appear. And then finally, story actions. So story actions are quite powerful things that let people copy a link to a story, copy the text of a story, show any downloadable assets for a story, and even download the story as a PDF. So yeah, have a play with that. You can see, looking at, here's my demo site, you can make changes in the preview window that we have here without applying them. And when you're happy with them, hit apply, and they are reflected on your site.
Okay, really good.
I will add that with the if I just bring my screen back online, there we go. In the sites grid, if you have a few sites here, we've got a new setting up your sites video, and that talks about some of the things I've just covered. It's really meant for people who are new to sites, but it goes into like some of the more advanced areas. So have a look at that if you are interested.
Okay, really good. Another question, which is it possible to have at least one editable variable for the contacts? I need to send the product keys and would love to do it directly to Prezly. That way I could download the contacts, add the keys as variable, and then call them when sending the campaign. It's what we call custom fields internally, right? Where you have the ability to, for example, add a specific variable to a specific contact, which isn't in Prezly yet. We have a lot of customers who use the salutation field for it. It's a little bit of a workaround, but it works because you can introduce the salutation field quite easily into a campaign as a merge tag. But this is definitely good feedback. So happy to address. I would suggest to send a quick email to support@prezly.com or reach out to our chat so we can help you with that workaround. And at the same time, kind of file this as a feature request, because this is definitely something that will, together with the new grids, together with favoriting views, together with building stronger filters, you'll be able to kind of do so much more if you have the ability to store any type of data about contacts that you want in a structured format. So definitely something where we are evolving to. I believe we are kind of running towards the end of this initial run through. One more thing I think, Al, is helpful to kind of address. Like, will the current version of Prezly kind of stay active, or what's our plan with kind of moving people over? Or how do we see people kind of migrating to this new way of
Absolutely. So we're keeping careful track on who is trying this out, and we've had several one-on-one sessions with people, getting feedback and processing that feedback and iterating and changing. During this beta period, we're just taking all your feedback and rolling it into the app. So sanding off any rough edges and making improvements. When we're happy that this is good, we want to roll this out to everybody. We're looking to do that hopefully at the end of Q3, so September, end of September-ish, I believe. But we're saying we're iterating on feedback as we go, but the plan is to move everyone over to this and standardize on this, because this will make Prezly hopefully easier to use for everybody. And as I said before, we can hopefully start building up some new views for people to help them manage their contacts.
Yes. What do people do when they kind of try it out and run into something? Like, how do they kind of share that? Or even if it's something small, right? Because we want to have all bits and pieces of feedback coming in on this, right?
So we briefed the support team to keep their ears out, and people can reach out, our usual support chat through Intercom, and there's a direct line through to the product team to log and address all feedback. And so any feedback, however small you think it might be, if it's something you think might help you, just let us know. We're all ears.
Yeah, good. Also, if you're part of a little bit of a larger team, large agency, large team, like we'd be happy to do kind of personalized sessions on this as well. If you want to roll this out to a whole agent, like let's say 80 to 40 people at once, it might be helpful that you reach out to us and we kind of set up a date in which we kind of help you walk through all these bits and pieces. So again, reach out to support@prezly.com or your contact at Prezly, and we'd be happy to kind of set something up. We're all ears for feedback, so press that green button if you log in the interface. Al, maybe you can kind of show it once again if you go to the old interface, because that's probably what people see whenever they log in. So the only thing you need to do is kind of now, you just do it now. That's just let's just make a deal and do it now, right? So you log into Prezly just now, open up a new tab, go to rock.prezly.com. Okay, you're slow on internet connection. I'll wait 5 more minutes. I'll sing a song, whatever. No, we'll kind of do it a little bit quicker. Go to rock.prezly.com and you see this. You log in. You see this. Press that green button there. You see it? Turn on the new UI. Right. Do it right now. Help us send your first campaign. You can always switch back, right? If you see that green box in there, disable and feature labs, you can just always turn back, but give us that feedback. Let us know what works, what doesn't work, what you run into. The faster we can kind of get the kinks out, the more we can kind of go on to something else and start like working all the other feature requests you're on. Thanks so much, Megan. You did it. Good. Awesome. We love you. All right. So if everyone else here kind of does it and kind of tests it, let us know, and then give us some time with this 2-step verification. Okay, good. But you got the point, Sam. So thanks for trying it out. So we're looking forward to your feedback, and we'll do like some more iterations on this if needed. Thanks so much, Al, for all the work that you've put in. Not just you, but also the whole team. I know it was like a mammoth effort to kind of get all these changes done, working, and so on, and ready for initial testing. So great job on that. But this isn't finished. We'll kind of keep iterating and improving. But thanks all for joining, and we see you all next time. Bye-bye.